All right, welcome back to the Coffee Chat podcast, where our mission is to add value to business, to local business leaders. And, we know it's not easy out there to run businesses, especially in this time where we have a pandemic. And I think today's topic is going to fit very, very well with a lot of people who are reopening their business or are thinking about reopening their dine-in. I know a lot of people had to close. Maybe they're still doing to go, and there's a lot of information out there. Maybe people were affected by this pandemic. So today, we want to talk on the topic of reopening your business, and we have today somebody who is Colado's attorney. She is licensed in Arizona, California, and on the Navajo Nation. She defends employers against wage and hour, prevailing wage discrimination, harassment, and relation claims. She also advises employers on all aspects of the employer-to-employee relationship, with a focus on providing clients with business-oriented solutions to identify and mitigate risk. She attended Howard University School of Law and the Ohio State University. Wow, what a bio. So everybody help me welcome Marian Zapata-Rossa. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here with you.
Yes, and thank you for your willingness to be here. And first off, what is your go-to drink? Do you drink coffee, your tea? What do you usually drink to stay awake?
So in the morning, I'm going to go with a cafe latte, and in the afternoon, I'm going to go with a Colado's cold brew.
Oh, nice. 2 coffees. That's good. I'm pretty sure you need it with all the what's going on right now. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So I'm a partner at the law firm of Snell and Wilmer, and I practice in the area of labor and employment law. I help employers and businesses on all aspects of the employment relationship. And as of late, in the current pandemic, I've been advising quite a bit on preparedness responses and what steps employers should and can be taking to try to protect their workplace.
Yeah, and I know it's tough times for a lot of businesses that they have to deal with a lot of changes that are going on, especially us. We recently just opened one of our locations, and there was a lot of processes, a lot of communication to our team. Based on your experience, like what has been the biggest impact that you've seen on small businesses as a result of this pandemic?
So this pandemic has really taken the world by storm. Most people worldwide who are alive today have never experienced anything like this or lived through this type of situation. And it really transcends all industries, all walks of life, from academia to business, business owners, workers, everyone in the way that they live day to day, they work day to day, how they care for their families, has really been turned upside down by this current situation. And small businesses in particular, prior to March, likely had no anticipation that they would have to deal with this current situation in really short notice. And so how quickly everything has developed and trying to figure out how to stay abreast of it has been incredibly challenging.
Yeah, and the processes and everything, like I said, it's a lot just to stay safe. Temperature checks for employees, make sure everybody's 6 feet away, like we are right now. It's a lot of changes. Based on that, how can a lot of businesses prepare to reopen if they haven't opened yet, or maybe they've already opened? Where can you get this information? I mean, is the government giving it out, or is there a website? Where can they get that?
So it's an excellent question because businesses that are looking to reopen, or perhaps that were essential and have been operating in some capacity throughout this, have had to try to figure out what is the best way to do that, and they've had to figure that out rather quickly. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. So really the starting point is for any small business looking at what is your industry, what is your workforce, what is your workspace, and trying to make decisions that are really catered to the expectations and the standard for the type of business that you are. So as you can imagine, that on the requirements or expectations for an opening childcare facility are completely different from what would be required in an office space versus a meat packing industry versus healthcare providers. And so the first step that an employer or a small business can take is to figure out, how do I operate? what is required, what is the standard for my industry, and what will my customers or my employees expect for us based on who we are.
Yeah, and is there like a way we can get access to all these resources? I know the CDC. We have a lot of flyers that we can print. Do you know a place that we can get all that?
Yes. Thankfully, there is an abundance of information available for small businesses. So after you have figured out what types of measures you need to take, the next step is the implementation. And so thankfully, you can look to resources like the CDC or your local agencies for guidance on what those steps need to be based on your industry. So the CDC, for example, if you go on their website today, you will find that even as of the end of last week, they've updated the guidance that they're offering for businesses to reopen. And they have an abundance of posters that are available to be printed for free on all sorts of topics that are relevant to the workplace. Those posters are available in English and Spanish and in some instances other languages. And so that's a really good place to start to get the types of tools that you're going to need to implement those plans in the workplace. But other resources that small businesses will want to stay abreast of include, for example, the local Arizona Department of Health, so that you're watching, the numbers and the statistics in your area and the areas where you operate. Also looking to the governor's website. All of the governor's executive orders and other guidance has been available there on the website. In terms of the phase reopening that we're experiencing here in Arizona. And so certainly government websites are a good place to start. I have to also add that I think the legal profession, my own profession, has really been instrumental in this time to make sure that we're keeping clients abreast of new laws and new guidance as soon as it's coming out. And so if you look to our website at snellandwilmer.com or any website of law firms, you'll find that there's information there by way of alerts or newsletters or blogs that can help kind of understand what the guidance means and how it applies.
Wow, good information. And I know there's been a lot of changes for employees as well, that they have to follow all these guidelines and just keep up with everything just to be safe, which is very important. What would be the biggest change for employees as all these guidelines have to follow, and also how can we motivate them as business owners or leaders to stay motivated?
So you touched a moment ago on a couple of the changes that might apply to your workplace, including temperature checks or health certifications. Certainly some employers might adopt those types of measures in their workplace. And so the onus falls on employees to make those modifications. Ultimately, I think that businesses that are able to implement those changes in a way that is transparent, that is clear, and that really demonstrates the value in the workforce and keeping the environment safe for customers, for workers, that those employers really will be able to motivate their employees the most to do the best thing, such as the social distancing that we've done, and in instances where you aren't able to social distance at 6 feet apart, providing face coverings for employees in the workplace. So small modifications that certainly will impact employees' life day to day, but ultimately is for the best interest of keeping everybody and their families safe.
Yeah, we want what's best for for everybody and to be safe. And I know there's a lot of information out there, but in your opinion, like how well do you think the government has done for businesses in communicating these? Because when we were opening, we're lost, we're afraid, so many changes going on, and one day it was like you can only be 25 people in a room, and then 10.
Yeah.
How well was this communicated to? Could the government have done a little better of a job, or was it something that we just got to figure it out? If we don't have masks, is there maybe a fine that you have to do? How well is this being tracked for businesses?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge for everyone, and certainly for business owners who are having to call these shots, is how quickly everything's developing. And so certainly some government entities have been very good at getting a lot of information out pretty quickly, but they also are in the process of figuring it out and crafting it from scratch. And so we haven't gotten as much guidance, we haven't had answers in many respects, but that information is trickling continuously as this thing develops, and we're here to certainly help businesses try to digest it and be aware of the information and the resources that are being made available.
Yeah, I think everybody got everybody off guard, and The best way to get prepared is to just look for help and look for information, like you said. And finishing up, what do you think is the future for, in a legal perspective, for local businesses? Do you think we're going to have to wear masks forever? Are people going to never dine in again? What do you think?
Lawyers often wish they had a crystal ball to predict the future for what's ahead for our clients and the eventualities that they may find themselves in. The rule of thumb that I've always used is I plan for the worst eventualities with the hope that they would never occur. But should any of our clients ever find themselves in that situation, they would be accounted for and they would be protected. And so in terms of planning for the future, I think taking all of the good tips that you've provided to fellow businesses throughout this podcast and just making sure that you're staying abreast of taking all the right steps to protect your workforce and your customers and community. Those employers who do that in the future will be in a really good position to protect themselves from that legal risk down the road.
Yeah, you touch a good point. How can we stay protected in these times? You really don't know what to expect. Where should we go to if we have a situation that we don't know how to handle?
Well, so in terms of the resources, I would certainly look to some of the resources that we've discussed online, but also you can always reach out to your attorneys and counsel who can help you navigate these issues. And really, as a business owner, you're going to want to be ahead of those issues before they occur. You're going to want to have trained your management team so that when employees come to them with questions or come to them with reports of symptoms or other concerns that they may be having, need for leave because schools haven't reopened or whatever the case may be, that they know the answers because you have already planned ahead to be prepared in that case. And that's why we're here to help.
That's great. And how important it is to have an attorney for a business? Should every business have one, or is it just for big businesses?
So I certainly recommend that businesses seek out legal help. There are certain instances where I would strongly advise that they not represent themselves if they have been sued in a lawsuit, have charges raised against them. But even just in the current environment, there's cost-effective ways that counsel can be very helpful in a short call to help answer questions in an emergency situation, just to make sure that you're taking the right steps and the best steps to protect your workplace.
Yeah, that's so much needed whenever you have so many things going on, to have somebody to keep you protected. Well, Mary, do you want to add any closing comments for today?
Well, just thank you for having me. I loved walking into Colados this afternoon and seeing all of the important signage instructing people to stay socially distant, to be safe, and so it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Mariam. I appreciate your willingness to be on the show, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers are going to appreciate the information that you share with us today. For anybody who's watching, where can they or listening, where can they find more information? I know you mentioned a couple of websites. Where can they find you or find more information?
Sure, certainly. So my information is available online at snellandwilmer.com, and I and my colleagues can assist with a number of legal issues. We're a full-service business law firm, and so we can certainly assist on a number of different fronts in the current situation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening as well. This is it for our podcast. If you have any comments, any suggestions, or any questions that you have for our podcast, comment below or email us at info@colados.com so we can answer those for you. Tune in next week as we talk about customer service. Next Friday, if you have any questions on customer service as well, let us know so we can answer those questions. Thank you so much for being here, Mariam. I appreciate your time. And everybody who listened, we'll see you or listen to us next week.
My pleasure. Be well.